So this video is in relation to a question I was asked today, and it was looking at adding two three-digit numbers together using the formal column method. And it came to some questions where it was looking at missing numbers, and this is where the confusion happened. So what we're going to look at today is this idea of how can I create the total, so the different strategies we can have. If we look at our first number sentence, you can see we've got our 342 add something equals 579. Now, to be brutally honest, there's really two ways I would actually do this before I even think about column method. Number one would be my number line, 342, and then I would count on until I got to 579. So remembering that I would count on in my hundreds, then count on in tens, then count on in ones until I get to that final total. Or alternatively, I could be looking at this idea of using our column method where I'm using number bonds to be able to find something. So I'm going to use this method where I'm going to use using my number bonds in a way to actually find this answer. So the first thing I'm going to try and do is just represent my 342, the number that I initially started with. You can see that these are sort of a representation of my place value counters. So green ones representing my hundreds, amber ones representing my tens, and the reds representing my ones. Now, I've started with my 342. I'm going to have to add some to them to get to my 579. So I'm actually going to create 579 on my place value grid as well. So now I'm going to count on. So I'm still using my idea of my partitioning and my place value. I'm going to count on for my ones. So I start with 2 ones and I need to get to 9. So if we simply go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, we can see that now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ones in my second number. Then if we're adding on my tenths, I start off with 4 and I need to get to 7. 5, 6, 7. So 4 tens plus 3 tens equals 7 tens. I have 3 hundreds and I need to get to 5 hundreds. So 4 hundreds, 5 hundreds. So 300 plus 200 gives me 500. So looking at this now, we've got 342 added to 200 and 37 to give me my answer. Now, if we're using an abstract method, it works exactly the same way. So if we're looking at our ones, 2 plus something equals 9. So in this case, 2 plus 7. We're looking at our tens. 4 tens plus something equals 7 tens, or 4 plus 3 equals 7. And when we move to our hundreds, 3 plus something equals 5, 3 plus 2. So we've got 342 added to 237 gives me the answer 579. So on this you can see both methods give me exactly the same answer. So it's just a case of working out which one you think is going to be most efficient. So am I going to be quickest and always correct using our pictorial model? Or will I be quicker and always correct using my abstract model? Now this one looks more difficult, but it's actually as simple. We're still not crossing any boundaries on this, so we're still not regrouping. But I've got 200 and something 2 equals some hundreds and 60 something. And the answer is going to be 579. So in this case, still the same total, but two different numbers that are going to be able to create it. So once again, I'm using my place value grid and I'm setting out what I know about this calculation. Like I said, it looks far more complicated than the first one, but in all honesty, it's as simple. We're using exactly the same strategy. So I've got 2 hundreds and some tens and 2 ones is my first number. Then some hundreds, 6 tens, and some ones for my second, to give me an answer of 5 hundreds, 7 tens, and 9 ones. So quite nice and easily, if we look at this, I've got 2 ones. How many do I need to add to get to 9? And we can simply see on this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So 2 plus 7 equals 9. I've got 6 tens, and I need to get to 7 tens. So 6 tens plus how many gives me 7 tens. In this case, 6 tens plus 1 10 gives me 7 tens. And then for our final one, I've got 2 hundreds added to how many hundreds to give me 5. So 2 plus 3 gives me 5. 2 hundreds plus 3 hundreds gives me 500. So here we can see we've got 212 added to 367. So when you add 212 and 367 together, you get 579. And if we look at our abstract model, we can still use our same counting on to find out exactly the same answer. So in this case, we'll start off with our ones. 2 plus how many equals 9. Simple mental maths or counting on using fingers. 2 add 7 equals 9. Something add 6 equals 7. Again, simple mental maths or counting on with our fingers. 1 plus 6 equals 7. And it moves us on to our hundreds, where 3 add something equals 5. 3 add 2 equals 5. So 312 add 267 equals 579. So you see, exactly the same strategy, it's just the way it's actually represented, and this is where the real understanding comes in. Take a breath, have a look, think, what do I know? What strategies can I use? And these missing number sentences are as simple as a normal addition. So give the next two, but I'm going to show a go using whichever method you're feeling most confident with. Are you going to use concrete? You're going to get some place value counters or some base 10? Are you going to be using some pictorial models where you're going to represent them with drawings? Or are you going to head straight to the abstract? So it's going to be 2 questions. I want you to give them both a go. So once you've seen them, you'll be able to think about how you're getting on. So here's your 2 questions. 123 add something equals 436. So remember the idea of start at your ones, move on to your tens, move on to your hundreds to find out how many we need to add to 100. 2 tens and 3 ones to get to 400s, 3 tens and 6 ones. And our second question is 200 and some tens and some ones added to some hundreds and 34 to give us a total of 575. So once again, think about starting at your ones. How many am I going to add to the ones to get to that final total? Then your tens, how many am I going to add to the tens to get to that final total? And then finally your hundreds, how many am I going to add to those hundreds to get to that final total? So pause the video now, give that a go, and we'll check up the answers in a few moments. So well done for giving that a go. So let's have a little look at our answers. So like I said, always start on the smallest value, simply because if anything needs to change around, anything needs to move, it's going to happen after this point. So always start with the smallest. So in this case, I'm going to start with ones. 3 add something equals 6. So let's think 4, 5, 6. That gives me another 3. 2 add something equals 3. 2 add on 1 gives me 3. 1 add on something gives me 4. Well, 2, 3, 4, so that gives me 3. So 1 plus 3 equals 4. So 123 add 313 equals 436. Looking at our next one, still using that same strategy. Let's start at the smallest value that we know anything about. Well, we know we've got 4 ones. How many ones am I going to add to get to 5? I'm going to add 1 1. I've got 3 tens. How many tens am I going to add to 3 to get to 7? Well, 3 tens add 4 tens gives me 7 tens. And then finally, I've got 200s. How many am I going to add to 200 to get to 500? Well, 2 plus 3 equals 5. So 200s plus 300s gives me 500. So 241 add 334 gives me an answer of 575. And with that, I think you're ready to get cracking on your independent work. So good luck.